this is the Life Doctor. And for those who don't know me, I am a homeschooling mom to three kiddos, ages 11, 8, and 4. And on this channel, historically, I would talk about things that impact me from the context of my faith, fitness, and family. But here more recently, I really wanted to add in more content related to life, homeschooling my kids, because that is something that I didn't really cover a whole lot prior, way back when I was doing YouTube a bit more before my hiatus. And I kind of explained why I took a hiatus, and I'll link that video below. But I'm back now, and I am fully involved in the homeschooling portion of things. And I wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about how to homeschool through difficult seasons. And prior to the making of this video, as I was thinking about what to say, I had all these grand ideas about what I would say, how I would say it, the different points that I would cover. And I'm typically very planful. Not sure if that's a word, but I'm going to use it anyway because I can. Very planful about what I do, very intentional, very just thoughtful in the process, in the preparation. But I didn't do that this time. And I didn't do that this time because I wanted this to be extremely authentic and raw. And that's not to say that being intentional and planning things out would negate that. But for me, I didn't want to have a script, so to speak. I just wanted it to come straight from my heart and in an unedited kind of a way, share with you from my perspective, from my experiences, how to homeschool through difficult seasons. You know, a lot of moms get on here and talk about the beauty of homeschool, and it is beautiful. The joy of homeschool, and it is a joyous experience. The fun and flexibility that is involved, and that is true as well. All of that is true. The field trips and the crafts and being able to customize and really listen to the heart of your kids, and from that base their curriculums, because you know, as a mom, you know what is going to feed into their heart, what's going to feed into their spirit. You know their learning style, and you can really, hone in and kind of pare down on the stuff that's really not relevant for them and their needs, and really focus on what's going to be beneficial for them. And all that's true. But at least I have not seen many homeschooling videos talking about how to homeschool through rough seasons. Not saying that they're not out there, but I just haven't come across a whole lot. And having just been through my own rough season, the roughest season that I've ever experienced, I'm still in that season, actually. I thought that maybe I could shed some light. Yeah, so I thought that, I could shed some light and share, what I've been doing to cope with my season, as well as homeschool my kids through it all. And so, I don't even know how this video is going to go, because like I said, I'm going through it. It's still kind of fresh for me, but I lost my mom. My mom passed away July 12th of this year, unexpectedly. So there wasn't any chronic illness. There wasn't, a debilitating condition. And so she passed away, and it was something that caught everyone very much off guard. And so understandably, that was very difficult for me, my siblings, my dad, and my children as well. Because they had a good relationship with her. And I thank God for that. But what that meant is, how I would be able to homeschool my children after that. And as I deal with my grief and help them deal with theirs, was going to be very different than what I had anticipated and what I had planned. Not to mention we were and still are going through a transition in terms of moving to a new city, a new area, a new home. So there were just a lot of transitions going on already. And then my mom passed away. And so because of my personality structure, as well as who I am and what I do professionally, I'm a mental health professional, a clinical psychologist. Grief counseling is something that I have done with clients, but it's not something that I necessarily thought I would need, because first of all, I've thought about what if my parents pass away, but just kind of fleeting thoughts, nothing serious, because I didn't have any reason to think that they would. Because like I said, my mom wasn't ill. My father is still with us, thank God, and he's well. So there was nothing to cause me to have serious mental preparation for that type of event to happen. And so I just didn't anticipate needing to go through my own grieving process, counseling process, nothing like that. And so it's been a bit of a challenge for me, because it's so much easier to prescribe things to others. But when it hits home and when it's you, it's just a difficult and different process. And then having children that I need to help navigate through this journey as well as their academic journey and everything else, their lives, just being their mom. It's tough. And so for a while, I knew that I was broken and distraught and in distress, and that was closer to when it happened, and did all the things that you can imagine someone in grief doing and going through. But then as time progressed, still feeling broken, I felt less broken. And so I felt like I could just, kind of dive into regular life again. Started working again, continuing to see clients, and so July, August, and then September, and then it was time to start the academic school year for the kids. And so that's what I had intended to do. But then I realized that I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay, and my homeschool would not be able to look like what I envisioned it looking like at all. And I had to come to terms with that. And I had to be okay with that. And so I guess that's the first thing that I would mention, is when you're going through a difficult season, be okay with not being okay. Give yourself permission to not be okay, which means you have to give yourself grace, number 2. So number 1, be okay with not being okay. Like, that's normal. You've just experienced something traumatic, whether it's a death, a loss, a recent move, some shift, some transition. It's okay to not be okay. Like, that's the season you're in. And then number 2, give yourself grace in coping with the not being okayness of the situation. And so for us, that looked like starting our homeschool, at a different time and on a different day than originally planned. And that's okay. And then because of that, making some other adjustments, which for us meant instead of homeschooling during a traditional academic school year, I would choose to just homeschool all year round to try to compensate for the slower pace that I at that point realized I would need to go. And so number 1, be okay with not being okay. Number 2, give yourself grace. Number 3, be flexible, make adjustments. I did another video talking about the fact that you are your own, you are your kids' teacher, principal, administrator. You're in charge. So you get to make homeschool look like whatever you need it to look like for your kids, for your family. So be flexible. And that's probably one of the most important, things that I can share. Be open to flexibility, because homeschool doesn't have to look like anyone else's homeschool. Homeschool doesn't have to look like public school. Homeschool doesn't have to look like private school. It can look like whatever it needs to look like for you and for whatever season you're in. And so especially when you're in a difficult season, be flexible. It might mean homeschooling in the evening. It might mean homeschooling early in the morning. It might mean homeschooling 4 days a week and not 5 days a week. It might look like homeschooling year round so that you can go on a slower pace and take more breaks and things like that need to happen. So yeah, be more flexible. The next thing I would share is that what content you cover, I would encourage you to make an effort to have it really address the needs of what your kids and what you are going through in that season. Let me try to explain. So for example, for science, right? And we do science in like a unit study kind of a style. Anything that's content based for us, like social studies, science, Bible, we do those things as a family together because they're content based. But then other things like math and language arts and so forth, those are done separately, individually, because they're skill based. But for science, for example, we're doing it unit study style. And so what I decided to do to help address my kids' needs and really speak to what they are going through and also what I'm going through is we're going through 3 main units. One unit's dealing with safety, right? And as a part of the safety unit, I've inserted, a unit about the body. And when we talk about the nervous system, I am, because of my background, because of my skill set, because of my awareness of what is important in this particular season, especially in the season, I'm going to be inserting, as we talk about the nervous system, a mental health unit. Why? Because even outside of this particular season, that would be important, but especially because we are here dealing with the loss of a grandparent of my mom, it's important to address this. And what better way and what better time than to do it right now as we are experiencing it. And so I have customized and I'm continuing and still fine-tuning what that's going to look like. But we are going to be doing a mental health unit embedded in our nervous system chapter, which is embedded in our human body unit, which is embedded in our safety unit. I hope that all makes sense. But the point is I'm customizing, and I encourage you as well to customize your curriculum and have it fit the needs of your kids. That is super important in my opinion, especially when you're going through a rough season. That could look like maybe just reading picture books on a particular animal. If that's what you can handle, if that's what's going to meet the needs of your kids. Maybe your kids are struggling in an area in math, for example. And so maybe instead of traditional math, because of the season you're in, because of the challenges that your kids are going through, maybe you need to look at something different, like maybe The Life of Fred, for example, which, there are a lot of videos on YouTube about, well, not a lot, but there's enough videos on The Life of Fred that you can kind of do your own research on that. But basically it's a literature-based math program that is like non-conventional and kind of quirky. But the point is, do what fits the needs of your children based on the season that you're in and based on the season that you're in. And it might not mean for you that you have to, tweak a curriculum or use a non-conventional curriculum. It might mean that you just do less because you just don't have the emotional bandwidth to cover everything that you wanted to cover, and that's okay. So, like I said, this was going to be like a raw, unedited type of a video. There's going to be some edits, I'm sure. Because but this wasn't going to be some pre-planned thing. I just wanted it to come from my heart and be raw. And this is what it is. And this is where I am. Right. And how can I encourage my clients, and the people that I work with in counsel in their own grieving process and journey to do these kinds of things, to be okay with not being okay, to give themselves grace, to be flexible and all these things, and then not do it for myself in my own season of brokenness, right? So I don't know what the coming months will look like. But this is what it looks like right now. And this is what's working for us right now. So we are year-round homeschoolers, and that for us is an adjustment because we weren't prior. But it's a positive adjustment. And I think that even just moving forward, that's what we're going to do because it feels so much more relaxed this way. So we homeschool 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. Friday is a bit of a flex day, library day, catching up day, project day, field trip day, whatever day, maybe sleeping in day, what have you. So because we homeschool year round, I don't have any anxiety about that. We can take time off for our holidays. We can do what we need to do with the confidence that regardless of sick days and just, mental health days and whatever we need, we'll get it all covered. We will. Because we're taking our time. And in this season, just taking my time, not overwhelming myself, not overwhelming my kids, and really being in tune and in touch with what they're going through, with what I'm dealing with, and this is also being juggled with the fact that I work. Like I actually work from home. I see clients daily. So that's the balance, and then there are things outside of that I do. So like life is still happening. And so in light of the fact that life is still happening, I really have to kind of erect boundaries around what I do so that I can be present. I can be as healthy as possible in my brokenness to attend to all the different things in my life that I need to attend to, but especially to my children because they're so young and vulnerable still, right? So I need to make sure that I'm doing these things and putting these things in place so that I can provide an environment where they can still thrive and kind of process. And so be encouraged, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.